What's going on, guys? Emmanuel Jones back here with another video. And this time, we're going to be doing our NFL complete 2023 predictions. So we know the NFL season about to come soon. So we're going to get started here. So before I get to the video, don't forget to put a thumbs up to like the video, subscribe to my channel for more options, and don't forget to comment down in your opinion below to see who you think is going to make the playoffs or win the Super Bowl this year. Let me know what you guys think. So we're going to start with the AFC, which is the AFC East. Now, the AFC East, I got the Bills. The first place team. I got the Bills going 11-6. I think their ceiling can be like 13-4, and then I feel like their floor will be like 9-7, 9-8. So I think I got them win division at 11-6 because they got the best quarterback, which is Josh Allen. They got a good explosive offense with good weaponry. The old line should be better. The run game probably isn't great. The defense, it's pretty good. They still got Russo. They still got Floyd. And they still got Matt Milano in the middle. They got Ed Oliver. I mean, all these pieces together. But the thing is that Von Miller is going to be out for a couple of weeks, which that's huge. And then you got the secondary, which is pretty decent. Hyde should be coming back from injury. Hoyer's there. Tre'Davious White should be healthy. Then you got Elam, who's entering his third year. I like to see him step up. Hamplin's going to be healthy too. So their defense is pretty tight. And their coaching staff is still pretty good. Sean McDermott's still a good coach and all that. So I think the Bills win this division here, and I think they have a chance at a Super Bowl shot. And then we're going to move to the second place team, which I think is going to be the Jets, which I got the Jets going 10-7 because I think the Jets kind of have a little bit of a hard schedule. I think their floor is going to be like 8-9. If Roger declines, if the defense declines, like the Jets don't put it together. But I think their ceiling can be like 13-4 or 14-3. If Aaron Rodgers starts to break out and the defense becomes a top 5 unit and the offense becomes a top 5 unit, I can see that. But I think the Jets win like 10 games this year because I think their schedule is pretty tough. I like to say, but it's more easier than it was last year because the Jets have a good defense and it could look to be one of the best in football. That their old line is solid, but it's still not great. I still have issues with it. And then, you got the weaponry of Jarek Wilson, Alan Lazard, Mecole Hardman, Randall Cobb. They got a lot of weaponry, a good core at wide receiver. They got Dalvin Cook as a running back. Breece Hall should be back from injury. So they have a good offense, though, around. So they're building the offense around the quarterback, which that's nice. But they still got the worst coaching staff, which is Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett. But I feel like that, this is the worst coaching staff. I feel like there's a chance they could definitely win 9 games and miss out on the playoffs. But I think they're going to win 10 games and probably, get a wild card. That's how I see it. And then the third place team, I'm going to put the Miami Dolphins because I think Miami, the reason why I'm giving them in third place because I think their offense has more explosive abilities. They got a good receiving duo of Hill and Waddle. The running game doesn't exist. The tight end's unproven. The offensive line is totally a bit overrated, but it's still solid. The defense is totally should get better adding Vic Fangio to the scheme, but Ramsey's going to be out for a couple of weeks, which that's huge, which is not really a loss. And then, if Tua, if he can stay healthy, I think Miami has a shot to make the playoffs or even win a division. But I'm not too high on the Dolphins because lots of people are going to be picking Miami to win the division because I think Miami just because Tua could stay healthy all 17 games. But if he doesn't, I think there's a chance they win 9 games. I think their floor, if I'm not mistaken, I think their floor is probably going to be like 8 and 9 if Tua doesn't stay healthy and they don't get it together. And then basically, I think the ceiling is probably going to be like 11 and 6. So I think they go from 9 and 10 wins this year. Or maybe their ceiling is 12 and 5. Who knows? So yeah, I got the Dolphins going 9 and 8, and slightly missing out on the playoffs. And then the last place team, I got the Patriots going 9 and 8 because I just think New England's schedule is a bit tougher. Because I just kind of really feel like that, New England's going to be in last place because Mac Jones, he's probably the worst quarterback in the division because I don't think his arm is stronger than Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers, Tua. I think Tua is better quarterback than Mac Jones because Mac Jones hasn't proven himself he can be more consistent. And plus, they got a good offensive coordinator now with Bill O'Brien, which that can make the offense better. And then also adding Juju to the receiving court could definitely get special. Kendrick Bourne's a good wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1. The tight ends are totally fine after adding Mike Gesicki. And the running game should be good, adding Zeke. The O-line should be better. The defense should be better than last year. It's totally pretty good, especially with the pass rush they have. I mean, I think their defense is underrated. The secondary is going to be special. And they're young and they're starting to get better. And they're going to keep in a lot of games. So, yeah. Some people might say the Patriots are probably going to go under 500, but I don't see it happening. But I think New England is going to win like 8 games, 9 games because I feel like New England's probably going to win like 9 or 10 games or maybe 11 because I think they're going to be better than people expected. And Bill Belichick is going to avoid having a losing season. Even though the AFC East is totally the best conference and the Patriots could be in a tough division, I think New England's probably going to still be good. But I have them going 9 and slightly missing out on the playoffs. So now we're going to go to the NFC North. So basically, I have the Bengals at 13-4 because I think Cincinnati, the reason why I just have them going 13-4 is because I think Cincinnati, they got Joe Burrow. They got Joe Burrow. They got Joe Burrow, and then, they got the best receiving core. Their coaching staff is totally good. Their offensive line is pretty new and it's starting to get better. The defense is always good and has been keeping them a lot of games. And most of their players are in their prime. But they only lost Von Bell and Jesse Bates, which that's huge losses. But the defense is still pretty good. But yeah, I feel like the Bengals could definitely win a division if Joe Burrow stays healthy and all that. And then, if he misses a couple games, I say they win like 9 or 10 games and all that, something like that. That can be their floor. Their ceiling can be like 14-3 or 15-2. That's how I see it. So I think Cincy wins the division again, and I think they have a shot to make the Super Bowl. Then my second place team, is the Baltimore Ravens because I think the Baltimore Ravens, I got them going 11-6. Because the reason why I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to come in second place because they have another best quarterback, which is Lamar Jackson. And then, their receiving core definitely improved after adding Zay Flowers to the draft and adding Odell Beckham Jr. for agency. Bateman should be coming back from injury. And then the tight end position is pretty good. They don't have a running game. The O-line is solid. The defense is, you can say they're good, but I don't know, but they're pretty much a little overrated. Their pass rush is solid. The secondary is pretty good. Humphrey should be back. He should be able to play this week, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah. And then they have a good coaching staff. But you know what? They have a new old offensive coordinator in Ty Monken. So we don't know how the Ravens' offense is going to be. That's why I kind of have them below Cincinnati because I just kind of really feel like Cincinnati has more experienced talent. They're more talented than the Ravens, so that's why I think the Ravens are probably gonna go second in the division. Then the third place team, and guess what I know? I got the Browns coming in third in the division, and I got them going 10-7 is because I think the Browns, are really talented. I think they're more talented than Pittsburgh. They have a better O-line. They have a better receiving room. And all of a sudden, I think the Browns, did improve their roster. They have a good offensive line. They have a good receiving core after adding Elijah Moore. And then, they have a good quarterback in Watson, which he's good. Their offensive and their coaching is pretty good with Stefanski. He could be on the hot seat, but he's still an excellent offensive play caller. The defense should totally be better, especially with Jim Schwartz coaching it. They added Dalvin Thompson to Darius Smith in free agency, but that's good. And then they added Thornhill in the secondary. So I think the Browns defense should be better than last year. But if Watson can play like Deshaun Watson, I think this team wins 9-10 games or even 11. And this team could definitely make the playoffs as well. So, yeah. Because I think the Browns should win 10 games this year, and they should bounce back. And obviously, the team I have in last place is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them going 9-8 because we understand that Mike Tomlin, he never has a losing season. But I got him going 9-8 because I got him in last place below the Browns is because I think Pittsburgh's offensive line is pretty new and it is improved, but it's pretty new. It's probably going to take some time. I feel like the offense is kind of a bit overrated. Their receivers are overrated. The tight ends is totally fine. The running backs is overrated. But their defense is totally pretty good and pretty solid. It's going to keep them in games. Especially the secondary did improve after adding Patrick Peterson and Joey Poyer through the draft. So, yeah. And then I think they have the worst offensive coordinator in the league, if you're not mistaken. So, yeah. But if Kenny Pickett, if he can at least play like a top 15 quarterback, I think this team has a shot to win 10, 11 games this year and make the playoffs. So, yeah. But I think their floor is probably going to be about 7-10. But I think they're going to go somewhere from 8 to 10 wins this year. And I think their floor probably going to be 11-6 or 12-5. So I feel like that even though the AFC North is kind of the best conference, I think Pittsburgh's going to win 9 games because I just kind of feel Pittsburgh's going to be in last place because I think Watson is a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett. So yeah, I think the Steelers are probably going to finish below the AFC North. Then we move to the AFC South. We got the Jaguars going 11-6, coming in first place. And also their ceiling can be 13-4. Their floor can be 9-8. So yeah, that's how I see it. The reason why I got the Jazz going 11-6 and winning division because they got the best quarterback in the division. Their receiving core is pretty good after adding Ridley. The old line should get better, especially they improved it in the draft. the defense is totally pretty much the same. It's pretty much underrated and they're starting to get better. So that's how I like to see it. But I'm not sure about the scheme or the coordinator or anything like that, especially Doug Peterson is a really good offensive coach. And he's kind of like, and I feel like Trevor Lawrence is like the best quarterback in the division, where they call him the Prince. So I think Jacksonville wins the division with 11 games. If not, maybe they can win 12. Then next team, the second place team, as you know it, I got the Tennessee Titans because I think the Titans are going to go 8-9 for a reason. The reason why I have them going 8-9 because I just feel like Tennessee, I'm concerned about the offensive line. Even though it improved, I still think their O-line is a bit overrated. The receiving core did get better adding D-Hop. Burks was not the answer. The Titans is pretty much unproven. Also, you still got Derrick Henry. But I'm still concerned about the quarterback position. Like, I think Tannehill he's getting older, and I feel like he's in that position to regress this season. But the defense is totally pretty good, which is going to keep them in games. But the coaching is pretty good as well. But I just have a feeling that Tennessee's going to have another losing season because I'm concerned about the quarterback position, and I still have concerns about the O-line and all that. So yeah, that's why I think Tennessee's gonna finish second division. Third place in the AFC South, which I have, is the Houston Texans. Now, I have the Texans going 4-13 because I think I got them going in third because I think Stroud is more pro ready. And I think that that the Texans, did get better this offseason, adding, some weapons like Schultz and Woods to free agency was a good pick. Adding Dell to the draft was really good. And especially, the old line got better, but the defense totally got better. So I think the Texans overall have some talent, and they could be promising, and they could surprise some people, but I just think that it's probably going to take some time for them to figure it out. And even though I think DeMeco Ryans is going to give quarterbacks issues to defend them. So, yeah. So I think the Texans are probably going to win 4 or 5 games or maybe 6. But I think their floor is probably going to be 2 or 3 wins. But I think their ceiling is probably going to be 7 or 8 wins. So that's how I see it for the Texans. So I think the Texans will win 4 games this year because they have a harder schedule. Then last place, I got the Indianapolis Colts, which I say that they stink. The reason why I have the Colts going 3-14 is because I think the Colts, they have some talent though. Their receiving core is all right, and Jonathan Taylor, he may not be there. And then you get the defense is pretty good, but not good enough to carry a team. But they're going to be doing learning curves. They have a new quarterback, which is Anthony Richardson, which I think is raw. And then they have a new coaching staff, which is a rookie. But I just kind of really feel like that the Colts, it's probably going to be the worst team in the AFC. And I just don't think the Colts, overall, their old line's a bit overrated. And, there's too much distraction going on in Indianapolis. So, yeah, that's why I think the Colts will go 3-14. Moving on to the AFC West, now their ceiling can be now the Colts, their ceiling, I think it's higher than you think. I think their floor can be 1 game, and then I think their ceiling can be 7 games or 8 or 9 games. If the receiving talent is good enough, then the offense is good enough, then Anthony Richardson breaks out, and the defense is pretty good. That's how I see it. But this is a year I think the Colts need to survive. I think they need to go through at least one more season to get back to the playoffs. So that's how I see it at the Colts. Moving on to the AFC West, we got the Kansas City Chiefs in at 14-3. Ceiling is 15-2. Floor is 10-7. That's how I see it. But I think the floor can be really 10-7 if Patrick Mahomes is not playing really good and the defense cannot play at the level it's supposed to be. So that's how I see it. I got the Chiefs winning 14-3, going 14-3 win in the West because they got the best quarterback in the division, which is Pat Mahomes. They got the best coach in Reed. They got the best tight end Tyreek and Travis Kelce. And you got Chris Jones, which he wants a new deal. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs, they should be a good team this year, even though they won a Super Bowl last year. I have them getting the 1 seed anyway because their schedule is a bit easier and all that. So, yeah, but I don't really know who their go-to guy at wide receiver be, so that's the question, though. So, yeah, that's how I kind of really see it. So, because you got Kadarius Toney and Justin Ross, people are bringing up, and then you got Sky Moore, Scantling. I mean, they got some receivers there, but they lost Juju and all that, and they lost Orlando Brown, replaced him with Taylor. So, yeah. So, O-line should be good, and the defense should be good as well. So, I think the Chiefs win 14 games. Now, the second place team I have is the Los Angeles Chargers. The reason why I have the Chargers going in second place, winning 9-8, because I think their schedule is a lot tougher. And then, I just think that, I'm concerned about their coaching staff. Brandon and Stanley looks to be on the hot seat. And then you got the coach. You got Kellen Moore, which I think he's a little overrated. Their receiving core definitely is awesome. It did improve adding Quentin Johnson to the draft. The O-line should be back healthy again, getting Rashawn Slater back. The defense is totally pretty good, but it's a bit overrated. Some of their players are getting older. But their pass rush is solid, but it's getting old. Their secondary is pretty strong. So I think the Chargers win 9-10 games. I think the ceiling be 12-5. Then I think their floor can be 7-10, 8-9 if, the defense isn't the worst in football, and Justin Herbert, is not playing well. That's how I see it. So I think 9-8, I think the Chargers go, and I think they miss out on the playoffs. Then the third place team I have is the Las Vegas Raiders. I have them going 8-9 because I just think the Raiders, I'm concerned about their defense and all that. Because I think their defense is totally not great, good enough to carry this team. But I think their pass rush, But I think their pass rush is pretty solid. And they haven't been bad against the run, but they're bad against the pass, which I'm too concerned about secondary. Peters was a good addition. Epps was a good addition, but they're older. And then their old line should be better. The offense is probably going to be better this year. I mean, especially with Josh Jacobs running the football. And then you got Devontae Adams, who's a stud, and then Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Myers. I mean, they have a good weaponry right there. And adding Mayer to the draft was pretty solid, and then Austin Hoover was a good pickup. And actually adding Jimmy G was. So I feel like Jimmy G's an upgrade over. Derek Carr. So, yeah. So they should be better at quarterback position. So, yeah. So I just think the Raiders are going to come in third in division because I think I like their offense more than in this division. They have a good coaching staff. So that's how I see it. Now, last place team, I got the Broncos coming in last place in the division because I just think the Broncos are a little bit overrated. I think, as I love Sean Payton, which that's a good addition, I feel like Russell Wilson is a bit overrated. The receiving core is a bit overrated. The tight end's unproven. The running game doesn't exist, especially they're probably going to be getting Devontae Williams back from injury, but I don't know if he's going to be able to be 100%. Then you got the old line did improve, but I still think it's a bit overrated. The defense is totally pretty good. The defense is pretty good, but it's a bit overrated. Their secondary is solid. The pass rush is, you can say is okay, but not great. So I think Denver's floor can be I think their floor can be 5-12, and I think their ceiling can be 9 or 10 games if Russell Wilson breaks out and get back to where he was. But if he doesn't, I think But if he doesn't play well again, I think they win less than 7 games. Like the same thing like the Raiders. Like, I think the Raiders' ceiling is probably gonna be a lot higher. Like I think their ceiling is probably gonna be like 10, 11 games if the defense plays well, and then the offense plays well, and their floor can be like 5 or 6 wins. Like the Raiders, if Jimmy G don't stay healthy. So that's how I see it. Like same thing as Denver. But I think Denver is probably going to come in last place in the division because I'm still have concerns and questions about their offense. Now we get to move. Now we're done with the AFC. Now we get to move on to the NFC. Now I got the Cowboys coming in first place in the division and going 12-5 because I just think their ceiling can be like about like 14-3, and then their floor can be like 10-7. So I think Dallas can win like 11 to 13 games this year. So I got them winning like 12 games this year because their defense is totally going to be the best in football after adding Gilmore. Then their offense did improve after adding Cooks. And their old line is pretty solid. The defense is pretty good. And then Dak Prescott is still a good quarterback. But their coaching staff is a bit concerning. I heard a lot of people saying that Mike McCarthy could be out as a Cowboys coach if they don't win something. And the coaching staff with Dan Quinn, the defense with Dan Quinn coaching it is pretty good. So, yeah, I think Dallas comes first in the division, and I think they get the top seed in the NFC. Next team, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, which I have them going 12-5. The ceiling's probably going to be like 9-8 or 10-7, if the Eagles' defense starts to decline a little bit and then Jalen Hurts, isn't playing well or gets hurt. And then I think their floor can be like 14-3 if the defense plays at a top 3 unit and then Jalen Hurts starts to break out. That's how I kind of really see it. I got them going 12-5, and I kind of have them above having a lower seed in the playoffs because I just think the Eagles' defense, some of their players are getting older on defense, and they could regress, but they can still play. The offense is pretty young and is pretty good. Especially I like the weaponry, which is pretty much pretty good. And then the O-line is totally the best in football. And then Hurts, he's the best quarterback, and that he could be the best quarterback in that division. So, yeah. And their coaching staff is pretty solid, but they lost their coaching staff. They lost their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. They replaced them with some new ones, but I don't know how it's going to work out for Philly. So that's why I kind of have them below the Cowboys. Next team, the third place team, we have the New York Giants. I have the Giants going 9-8. 8-9 because I think their schedule is a lot tougher, and I just kind of really feel like that the Giants are going to take a step back this year. But I still have them getting the 7th seed in the playoffs though. So yeah, but I'm still concerned about the receiving core, especially adding Hyde to the draft was a good pick. Darren Waller was a good pickup. The O-line is pretty solid. The defense is always getting good, and Wink Martindale is probably the best defense coordinator ever. So yeah, I still think the Giants probably gonna win like 8 games because I think the Giants, has a tougher schedule. And I just think the Eagles and Cowboys are much better. But I think the Giants, can win about like 8 to 9 games this year. I think their ceiling can be like 11-6. Their floor can be like 6-11 or 5-12 if everything goes wrong with them. So that's how I kind of really see it. Then last place team, I have the Commanders at going 5-12 because Commanders, they're starting Sam Howell's the quarterback, and he's very inexperienced, but he can learn on it and all that. But I think their floor can be like about like 3-14, and then I think their ceiling can be like 7-10, 8-9 if the defense starting to play at that level as last year. But I think the Commanders, are probably gonna win like a couple of games because they have the best quarterback in the division. Their skill group is pretty good with the receivers they have with Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dawson. The O-line is totally not that good. The defense is totally pretty good. It's pretty solid, but not great.